Hi everyone, I'm back with another video about positive psychology coaching and how it can help young people improve wellbeing and resilience. I'm Liz Robson, CEO and founder of Worth It, positive and organisational psychologist and coach that specialises in early prevention of mental health problems with children and young people. So today I am going to be talking about the academic theory that underpins our approach to coaching at Worth It and the Worth It Coach training course. So this is based on academic research that I did in 2014 that then got published in 2016 with my supervisor Christian van Nieuwburg, who's very famous in the field of coaching in education and positive psychology coaching. In the field of coaching, we have different ways of using coaching. Performance coaching, which is much more about thoughts and behaviours and how you perform. And then we have developmental coaching, which is much more about how we develop our human potential and flourishing and understanding thoughts, feelings, behaviour, working with emotion, working with strengths. And we specialise in developmental coaching. So it's less focused on goal setting for young people and much more focused on helping them develop and understand their self-awareness using a coaching approach. And in order to do that, we use positive psychology tools and interventions and implement them within a coaching relationship. So there's fundamental things that I found out from my research that we now use and apply within our coach training course, and generally in our Wellbeing Academy, and all our programs are underpinned by core things that I discovered when working with young people and using coaching and using positive psychology interventions, and then asking them questions about how it's helped them basically. So I published a grounded theory. So if you don't know what grounded theory is, it means instead of coming up with a theory and then testing it, your actual theory emerges from the voice of your participants. So because we believe in voice-led co-production and giving people autonomy, giving children and young people autonomy to make decisions, it really suited me as a research method. So it came out with a grounded theory model that explains different elements of the coaching process and of coaching as an intervention, I should say, and how it can help young people, and what it is that it actually does to help the young people. So the first thing that I found out, I'm just looking at the model here in case you see me looking down, is that the context is key. So the ability, how you're using the coaching intervention and the setting and the situation that you're using it within. So because a lot of the work we do with young people is in the space of early prevention, we are working with vulnerable, we're either working upstream with young people who we don't want them to have any problem. We don't want them to develop mental health problems at all. So working upstream. And I've got a video on different types of early prevention, which I'll link to above. We're working upstream. So we're using coaching to reinforce resilience and give them strategies for wellbeing so they don't develop problems in the first place. In most cases, when we're using coaching as an intervention, we're using it as a midstream targeted early intervention. So that means that the young people have been that means that the young people have been identified to be at risk, and that they need a short-term intervention to prevent that causes of risk getting any worse. Now, it might be that the situation that the young person is contributing to these issues. Maybe if stuff's going on at home, maybe their friendship groups are a bit, worrisome, risky. They might be doing risky behaviours. They might be in care. They might be a young carer. They might be parents with issues, family issues, adverse childhood experiences. So maybe the young person is in these more higher risk factors for developing a mental health problem. And we've identified that it's the context that they're in might be contributing to that. Unfortunately, in our role as coach, we can't change the context. All we can do is help the young person be able to deal and cope with it better. And there is a difference between dealing and coping. And that came out of my research, which was really interesting. And I remember the participants using the term deal about 31 times and the term cope 13 times. And that's why I think the difference between counselling and coaching can come in. Personally, it's my personal opinion. And if you're a counsellor, you may disagree with me. But I think counselling is a lot more about helping people cope and and understand and reflect and become more self-aware and just kind of process what's happening. Whereas coaching is a lot more about dealing. So it's maybe a lot more about practical things that can really help a young person move forward and deal with the situation. And it depends what the situation is. And some situations they can't change and they're powerless to change. And all they can do and all you can help them to do is change the way they think about it and change the way they feel about that situation so it is less harmful to them. And that can be very challenging as a coach to work, or any practitioner that works with young people, to feel like that they might be in these challenging situations and you really can't do that much about it apart from work with them and support them and help them be resilient and buffer against adversity, which is good. It's enough. It's something where they might have nothing. So don't underestimate how that's important, even though you might feel very angry about the situation that they're in, or very sad for them about the situation that they're in. So it's about your role as the coach to see that young person objectively and not jump into their problem story or not feel that you have to fix the problem for them, but you are a supportive mechanism enabling them to cope and deal with the challenges that they face. Okay, so the next thing, first of all, you're aware of the context that the young person is in and your role within that context of how you can help and what the remit is of what you're going to be doing as their coach. The second is the coaching relationship, which is the foundation that underpins everything that you're going to be doing working with a young person as a coach. So there's essential ingredients within that coaching relationship that a young person needs. And this is what we teach on our course. And this is what underpins a lot of our work and our programs. And those essential items are trust, being non-judgmental, equality, positivity, perspective, challenge, belief and hope for them. That is so key. And this is where the context comes in. Because if you have belief and hope for them, even that they do have the capacities to be able to cope and deal with that situation, just the power of somebody believing in them is enough to help improve their well-being and help them feel more in control of that situation. Listening and asking rather than telling. So they are the essential ingredients of coaching. So in the coach training and in our programs, we do a lot of work around asking effective coaching questions and active listening. So then how you apply the coaching intervention is then key. So you can apply coaching in a one-to-one, you can apply in a group work setting, group work program, such short program. You can apply coaching more as an ethos or an approach, generally within your work, or the way you do lessons, or the way you do conversations about behavior or whatever, restorative justice, that kind of thing. So you can integrate coaching in different ways. In my work, I found the most powerful combination, most effective combination, was to have one-to-one coaching, which I know is not cheap and it's not cost. It can be the more costly approach, but it is the most impactful, combined with group work, group coaching, because the one-to-one helps a young person understand themselves and have that relationship, that one-to-one coaching relationship with a trusted adult. And then the group coaching with other young people, they're seeing that other young people are benefiting from the intervention. So it's showing them that it works. So then you get that vicarious self-efficacy happening, where they're noticing that, oh, it's working for them, so it must work for me. It's going to work for me too. So that develops that knowing and that belief. It also helps them to feel that they're not alone, that they're not the only person that feels like this. Young people that might be struggling with poor mental health early, I'm talking about common mental health problems, depression and anxiety symptoms, rather than severe and enduring mental illness, because coaching isn't for young people with severe and enduring mental illness. Other therapeutic approaches are required for them. This is about young people that are maybe showing signs and symptoms of anxiety or low mood, or they've just got risk factors, and we're using coaching to help them understand strategies to improve their well-being and become resourceful and able to use those strategies for well-being to help them. So so context is key, and situation is key, and the timing of the intervention is key before you even start doing the coaching intervention. So the group coaching helps them to realise they're not alone, that there are other young people that are like them, and that that they can see it working, and then that they can share and normalize, and all those things are really, and that the other young people can see each other through each other's eyes, and like see the strengths in each other, and see, then that makes them think, well, people must think like that about me too, and it just boosts their confidence. It's massive, like, it's beautiful. Love seeing that change when young people realize they're not the only ones that feel that way or think about things in that way. That's really, really beneficial. And then they have coaching after the group work to think about the strategies that they learned. How do they personalize them? How do they make them their own? Which ones are they going to keep using moving forward? So when doing a sort of coaching program, we tend to do 45-50 minutes. An hour can be a bit intense, but it depends if you've got a real talker. So if you've got a young person that's a real talker, you could easily do an hour. But if you've got a young person that's really shy and really struggling to open up, you're going to need a load of tools and resources to kind of scaffold that session. And as time goes on, that they might talk more and you might need less tools. But to get things going, we often would use worksheets and tools and activities and cards like this, which eventually will be for sale on my website. One of the things I've got to do. Cards, tools, games, activities, drawing, walking, sitting in the car and driving them somewhere and coaching them that way. All these different tactics, all these, safeguarding considered, all these different strategies and tactics to have a coaching conversation with a young person. So my work identified that the coaching tools that young people find beneficial fit into 3 interrelated categories. They are communication and interpersonal skills. And like I've said in my early prevention video, that the ability to help young people develop communication and interpersonal skills through the coaching process is so, so powerful. And I think completely underestimated as a strategy for improving well-being. Because if young people don't feel so isolated, and they feel understood, and they feel heard, and they feel seen, then and they have good friendships, healthy good friendships, they can identify who the healthy friends to have are, they can remove themselves from unhealthy situations, they can have a voice, they can share how they feel, they can feel confident to look somebody in the eye, then that massively improves their well-being. But I think because it's not simple, but it's so kind of assumed that everyone knows how to do that. But they don't, and it's gotten worse because of technology and because of the way people communicate and interact these days, that actually the ability to communicate, especially since we had lockdown and 2 years, some young people during that developmental stage where they need to be with other peers, was taken away from them. And I, during the pandemic, I was absolutely heartbroken because I was devastated. I was thinking, all these teenagers are missing out on this opportunity to build connections and meaningful relationships and build the skills to be able to have them for life has been taken away from them. So damaging. And we are seeing now the onset of a rapid increase in mental health problems in young people. And I'm pretty sure it's to do with the ability to communicate and have relationships is so fundamental and so overlooked. That's why I really think coaching can help, because the process of coaching actually helps someone learn interactions and learn relationships and learn what it feels like to experience that, and to have positive praise and have their strengths recognized and be reassured and open up and trust somebody and all of those things. So don't underestimate the power of the relationship. And if that's all you work on as a coach with a young person, that's enough. That's enough. And that's why other interventions like mentoring and counselling and stuff can help, because of the relationship aspect. However, the coaching relationship is different to counselling or mentoring, because it's much more of an equal relationship built on equality, where you're helping a young person facilitate their own thinking. And not that I'm saying counselling isn't like that, but not a counsellor. So I'm only qualified in coaching. So that the relationship is more equal, and that we are working with the young person to help them identify their strengths themselves and kind of set their own goals and move forward. So the next strategy that the next set of tools and resources that we help young people through coaching are self and emotional awareness. So these two are together because they're so interlinked, especially with like thoughts and reactions and behaviors, and slowing down that process between having a emotional outburst and, you know, calming themselves down and things like that. So we work a lot around understanding self and who you are and what you like and what makes you you, and what are your unique strengths, and how do you use them, and how do you feel, and how do you think, and how do you behave, and what could you do to do that differently next time, and using solution focused approach and things like that to really help young people recognize who they are, and, you know, help them become more self-aware. And can you imagine if you do that during adolescence, how much it's going to help and save a lot of issues happening in the long run? I mean, part of my inspiration for my work was when I started coaching. So I was 29 or 30 when I started doing coaching, and I just thought, and I was working with some young girls who were like 21 or something, and I was like, oh God, I just wish somebody had told me this stuff when I was a young person, when I was 15 or 17 or something like that. It would have saved so much trouble in the long run. So that's partly one of the inspirations. And then the last category is thinking skills. So how to understand how they're thinking and change how they're thinking, which is why our approach to coaching it depends on the developmental stage of the young person as to which tools and strategies you're going to be using, because the younger they are, the less that cognitive part of their brain is developed, and the thinking skills are just not quite appropriate to talk about, because they don't have that foresight to goal set. They don't have that part of their brain developed yet to understand how they think about things. So, you know, the older they get, the more you can work on thinking skills, and the younger they are, the more you work on emotions and reactions and feelings and friendships and relationships and compassion and things like that. So that's why you need a whole different tool set, so that you can get to know your young people and you can pick and mix the tools and strategies that are useful to them. The one sort of controversial opinion that I have, which kind of goes against a lot of the research on coaching, is goal setting. So most coaching focuses on goal setting, and I have an issue with goal setting when it comes to coaching young people, because when you're working with a vulnerable and at-risk young person, they might not feel good enough to have a goal. They might think that they're never going to have the things that they want. So what's the point of even thinking like that in the first place, which is absolutely heartbreaking. So if you're like, oh, what's your goal? What's your goal? What's your goal? Like a coach might do, that's not experienced working with young people, that's maybe done other kind of coaching courses, especially like the GROW model, which is like the famous one that you always get taught on any kind of coaching course, and never do the GROW model with kids for this specific reason. You can latch onto needing a goal, and then the young person might give you a goal just to shut you up, and it might be somebody else's goal. It might be an extrinsically motivated goal, like they need to get a certain GCSE, or they need to get a certain they need to do a certain thing to please a parent or something like that, and it's not their goal. They're just going along with it because that's what they think you want to hear. Or the goal can be something completely ambiguous, like, I want to feel better, I want to feel happier. And then as a new coach, that's really difficult to work with. So I tend to focus more on hope theory, which is Snyder's hope theory, around, are we helping them with goal-striving behaviour? So it's not so important to latch onto the goal. It's more important to say, what are the behaviours that help you keep moving forward towards goals, whatever those goals might be? And they tend to be willpower and pathways and agency. So different pathways. If plan A doesn't happen, is there a plan B? Is there a plan C? Was a flexible and accurate thinking that can help you keep moving forward. So if you don't achieve that goal or achieve the thing you're working towards, you've still got that sort of strength of character. You've still learned goal-striving behaviour, which is more important for the well-being. So the moving towards achieving your goal is more important for well-being than achieving the goal itself. The goal can change. So that's the kind of nuanced approach to coaching young people around goal setting that you might not get from doing a regular coach training course and then working with young people, because it doesn't quite fit. So our approach to coaching young people is based on practical knowledge of working with young people for 12 years, and also my master's degree, my research. And working with teachers and practitioners that work with young people and getting them to reflect on situations and scenarios. So what the outcome of the coaching intervention is that young people feel that they have gained a range of strategies that they can use to cope and deal with situations. So through the process, they're increasing their thought action repertoire of different ways that they can cope and deal with situations, which is massive. It is so massive to increase their capacity for doing different things. And it might not be that they even do those things, but just fact that they know that they can. They might not need to know how to use that strategy to help them until a challenge comes up where they need to use it. But you've increased their bank of strategies so that when they need to make a withdrawal, they've got stuff there. Whereas if we don't do that, people are trying to withdraw from empty bank accounts, and they're just going to go overdrawn. That's a metaphor I use quite often. So that they have a greater choice and control over how they want to think, feel, and behave. So they are more aware of the different ways of thinking, different ways of behaving, and are in control of that, so that they can choose to do things differently, react differently, and think differently. That's massive. And that because of all of that, they feel more confident. And confidence is a massive thing that in my work, young people have said that I feel so much more confident now because they're just much more self-aware and they're more in control and they're calmer. And then because of that, they feel better, happier, and less stressed. And that is well-being. Feeling better, calmer, and less stressed is their way of defining that their well-being is improved. And through the process, they're learning self-regulation and autonomy and competence, which I talked about in my self-determination theory video. So that's the underpinning research in my coach training course in a nutshell, 20-minute video. I appreciate if you're still here now, well done, you're really interested. If you're interested in learning how to use this approach, join my course. It's open twice a year. You have to apply. And then if you pass the application form, you can book in a one-to-one chat with me, and or just go ahead and apply to join the next cohort. And if you're interested in actually working with my organisation and my team to coach young people you work with, we only do coaching in settings like charities, third sector organisations and schools. We don't, unfortunately, work with individual families and children. Because we're just logistically not set up to do that. So that's why we want to train other people to coach young people so that they can work in their own communities, and we have just more people trained in how to do this, either as in their own jobs or as an individual practitioner. So yeah, if you are interested, look in the links below, on the page below, like and subscribe. I've got regular videos coming out every week at the moment, and I hope to see you again soon.